The Empire had conquered 17 star systems in less than a century. Their warriors wore armor made from a material forged in the hearts of dying stars. No weapon in the known galaxy could pierce it. No species had ever survived a ground war against them. When their massive ships appeared in Earth's orbit on a cold December morning, they expected another easy victory. They were wrong. Commander stood on the bridge of his warship and looked down at the blue planet below. His scales shifted from dark green to a satisfied shade of purple. The humans had no space fleet. They had no energy weapons. According to the scouts, they still used primitive chemical propellants to launch metal projectiles at each other. Almost felt sorry for them. Almost. The transmission went out across all human frequencies. Translators converted his words into their strange languages. He told them they had one rotation of their planet to surrender. If they refused, his warriors would descend and claim their world by force. He expected immediate compliance. Instead, he received silence. Then, after several hours, a single message came back. It contained only 2 words that his translators struggled to interpret. The closest meaning was an anatomical suggestion that was physically impossible for his species. Ordered the invasion to begin. 10,000 drop pods fell from the fleet like metal rain. Each pod carried 5 warriors in full armor, armed with plasma rifles that could melt through stone. They targeted the major population centers first: New York, Beijing, London, Moscow, Mumbai. The pods screamed through the atmosphere and slammed into the ground with enough force to crack concrete. The warriors emerged ready for slaughter. They found empty streets. Squad leader led his unit through the streets of what his tactical display identified as Chicago. The tall buildings blocked the weak winter sun. Snow fell gently around them. Had conquered 12 worlds and had never seen precipitation like this. It was almost beautiful. He signaled his warriors to advance toward a large structure where thermal readings indicated hundreds of hiding humans. The first bullet caught in the chest. He stumbled backward but did not fall. He looked down at his armor and saw a small scratch where the projectile had struck. He laughed, a harsh clicking sound that echoed through the empty street. The humans were using their pathetic weapons against. He raised his plasma rifle to return fire. Then the second bullet hit him in the exact same spot. And the third. And the fourth. The humans had figured out something that no other species ever had. Was incredibly strong against single impacts. It could absorb enormous amounts of energy without cracking. But it had a flaw. Repeated strikes on the same point created microscopic fractures. Each impact weakened the molecular bonds. The 15th bullet that struck's chest armor went straight through. He died before his body hit the frozen ground. Private Sarah watched through her scope as the first alien warrior fell. Her hands were steady despite the cold. She had practiced this shot 10,000 times in simulation over the past 3 days since the aliens arrived. Every soldier in every military on Earth had received the same training. Target the same point. Keep shooting until the armor breaks. Humanity had 3 days to figure out how to kill these invaders, and they had done it. The battle for Chicago lasted 6 hours. Every building had become a fortress. Every street had become a... The humans used their knowledge of their own cities against the invaders. They collapsed tunnels on advancing squads. They flooded subway systems to drown warriors in their heavy armor. They set fires that filled the air with smoke and ruined the aliens' thermal sensors. By nightfall, 400 warriors lay dead in the streets. Human losses were high as well, but the aliens had been stopped. Commander received the reports from all invasion sites with growing disbelief. His warriors were dying. The impossible was happening. He ordered more troops to the surface. He would drown these humans in blood if necessary. But his officers warned him that they had underestimated the human population. There were 8 billion of them, and they were all fighting. In the mountains of Afghanistan, warriors who had spent decades fighting each other joined forces against the new enemy. Tribal rivalries meant nothing when aliens walked their land. In the jungles of South America, soldiers who had hunted drug cartels now hunted something far more dangerous. In the frozen tundra of Siberia, Russian special forces used the brutal cold as a weapon, waiting until alien armor became brittle before attacking. The humans adapted faster than any species they had ever encountered. Within a week, they had developed new ammunition specifically designed to maximize the fracturing effect on. They shared this technology freely across all borders. Old enemies became allies overnight. The entire planet united with a single purpose: survival. Warrior was one of the lucky ones. He survived the disaster at Chicago and was evacuated back to the fleet. He stood before Commander and tried to explain what he had witnessed. The humans did not fight like any species they had conquered before. They did not run. They did not surrender. They used every weapon, every tool, every advantage their world offered. They turned their own cities into traps. They sacrificed themselves to save others. And they never, ever stopped shooting. Refused to believe the reports. He ordered a massive assault on a human military installation in a place called Nevada. 50,000 warriors would participate. It would be the largest ground operation in history. Surely, this would break the humans' resistance. The warriors descended with confidence. They were met by the combined forces of 3 nations and a weapon they had not expected. The humans had tanks, massive armored vehicles that fired enormous projectiles at incredible velocities. A single shot from these machines could punch through armor without needing repeated impacts. The humans had been holding them back, waiting for the enemy to commit their forces. The Nevada desert became a graveyard. Warriors tried to retreat to their drop pods, but human aircraft filled the sky. Helicopters and jets rained fire down upon them. There was no escape. Commander watched from orbit as his invasion crumbled. He had lost nearly half his warriors in just 2 weeks. The humans showed no signs of weakening. If anything, they were growing stronger. Reports indicated that human factories were operating around the clock, producing more of their deadly weapons. Their scientists were already studying captured technology, looking for ways to improve their own. The leadership contacted with new orders. He was to use the fleet's orbital weapons to reduce the human cities to ash. If they could not conquer this world, they would destroy it. Prepared to give the order. Then his sensors detected something impossible. Human spacecraft were rising from the planet's surface. In just 2 weeks, human engineers had reverse-engineered enough technology to build primitive but functional space vehicles. They were ugly. They were barely held together, but they worked, and they carried nuclear weapons. The first human ship reached the fleet and detonated its payload before anyone could stop it. The explosion destroyed 2 warships instantly. More human vessels followed. They were not trying to fight. They were using their ships as missiles. Each one was piloted by volunteers who knew they would not survive. They died gladly to protect their planet. Ordered a retreat. His remaining ships fled toward the edge of the solar system. But the humans were not finished. They had captured enough drop pods to launch their own assault. Soldiers in stolen armor boarded the slowest ships before they could escape. They fought through the corridors with their primitive weapons, killing crew members and capturing vessels. The battle lasted 3 days. When it was over, the fleet was broken. Only a handful of ships managed to escape into the darkness between stars. They carried news of the disaster back to the Empire. For the first time in their history, they had been defeated. And they had been defeated by a species they had considered primitive. Commander did not survive the retreat. His flagship was boarded by a team of soldiers from a dozen different nations. They found him on the bridge, surrounded by the bodies of his guards. He raised his plasma rifle to fire, but a single bullet struck his hand and sent the weapon spinning away. A human soldier approached him, weapon raised, expected death. Instead, the soldier spoke. The words came through the translators, clear and cold. The soldier told that humanity had a message for the Empire. They wanted to carry it home. They let him live and put him in an escape pod. He drifted through space for days before a patrol ship found him. When he finally reached the Empire's capital and stood before the High Council, he delivered the human message. Earth was not a world to be conquered. It was a warning. Any species that threatened humanity would face the same fate as the fleet. The humans had started building their own starships. They were learning from captured technology. One day, they would venture into the galaxy. When they did, they would remember who had attacked them, and they would remember who had not. The High Council debated for days. Some wanted revenge. Some wanted peace. In the end, fear won. They had built their empire on the belief that their armor made them invincible. The humans had shattered that belief along with if they attacked again, they risked losing everything. 50 years passed. Humanity expanded beyond their home system. They built great ships and founded colonies on distant worlds. They met other species who had suffered under conquest. These species looked at the humans with awe and disbelief. How had such a young race defeated the undefeatable? The humans always gave the same answer. They had never believed the armor was perfect. Nothing was perfect. Everything had a weakness. You just had to find it. And humans were very, very good at finding weaknesses. Sarah was an old woman now. She had received medals and honors from governments around the world. She had become a symbol of humanity's victory. But when people asked her about that first shot, the one that proved the aliens could be killed, she never spoke about heroism or glory. She spoke about the friends she had lost, the cities that had burned, the price humanity had paid for survival. She also spoke about hope. The invasion had brought humanity together in ways nothing else ever had. Old hatreds had faded. Old wounds had healed. For the first time in their history, humans truly saw themselves as one species, one family. The aliens had meant to conquer them. Instead, they had united them. The empire still existed, diminished and cautious. They avoided human space and warned their allies to do the same. In the halls of their government, they spoke of humans in hushed tones. They told stories about the tiny, soft-skinned creatures who had destroyed the invincible with nothing but metal and fire. They called it a lesson. Never underestimate your enemy, and never, ever claim your armor is perfect. Because somewhere in the galaxy, someone is always looking for a way to break it.